Welcome. My name is Joy Archer Yeager, and I graduated from Kinkaid in 1985. On behalf of the Kinkaid Alumni Association, I am delighted tonight to welcome Dennis Huston. A few years ago, I had the privilege of returning to school when I joined the Master of Liberal Studies program at Rice University. Dr. Huston taught me in 2 classes, Shakespeare on film and public speaking. Before I had Dr. Huston in class, I had heard all about him. He was very popular in our program, and I heard from several friends, your time at Rice will simply not be complete until you have had Dennis Huston. One class in Shakespeare on film, and I knew why. Dr. Huston has a unique brand of professorial enthusiasm. It stems, I think, from a boundless love and respect for creativity. As Dr. Huston showed us, in no medium do so many creative forms unite as they do in the movies. Writing, visual art, acting, music, costume design, and so much more. I have always loved movies, and now better appreciate how they work their special magic, thanks to Dr. Huston. We are all in for a great treat tonight. Now I'd like to introduce my friend, Kate Lambert. She is Dr. Huston's daughter, and she is the chair of the English department here at Kinkaid. She is as cherished here as her dad is at Rice. It is my pleasure now to welcome Kate Lambert.
Good evening, and thank you for coming. I didn't expect such a wonderful introduction already from Joy, but I'm not going to pass up the opportunity to talk a little bit about my dad, and basically I wouldn't pass up the opportunity to talk anyway. Anyway, welcome, and it really is a great privilege to introduce my dad, Dennis Huston, and the reason I am a teacher today. Yes, it's true, I think I've known my whole life I would be an English teacher, and I've known it because watching my father love it, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I still remember my father's delight when over a dinner conversation, he would tell my mom, brother, and me about a great paper he had just read from one of his students, and how on our summer car trips, he would read aloud to us his favorite novels and make us too love reading. Even during his sabbaticals, when he should have treasured the time away from the classroom to work on his writing, my father couldn't stay away from his students. In between writing chapters for his book, he would take breaks and go to the Rice Library in search of his students, eager to talk with them and find out what they were studying and talk to them about what he was writing. It's no wonder then that given his combined love for his subject and for his students, he has been so often honored during his teaching career. In his 43 years at Rice, my father has won nearly every teaching award given by the university, including the George R. Brown Prize, voted on by alumni 2 years and 5 years after graduation, and the Nicholas Salgo Prize, voted on by current juniors and seniors. In fact, he has won so many of these awards that he's now been disqualified. My father has garnered praise beyond Rice as well. Most notably, he was honored in 1989 by CASE, the Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, as the National Professor of the Year. He has also appeared on 60 Minutes and was recognized by Houston Metropolitan Magazine as one of the 90 best things about Houston. He has also published several articles, been featured on the Teaching Company videos, and published the book Shakespeare's Comedies of Play. Currently, he not only teaches undergraduates at Rice, but as Joy mentioned, he also teaches in the Rice MLS and continuing ed programs and at the Women's Institute. And on top of all that, he still finds time to lecture around the country, sharing his love of film, Shakespeare, and detective fiction with former students, alums, friends, and other lucky guests. Tonight, we are those lucky guests, and this evening, my dad will share with you his love for film and the great power he sees in it. Like teaching, film has always been one of my father's passions. I remember as a little girl watching the Academy Awards with my father and both of us jumping up in victory when Chariots of Fire won and took home Best Picture. I remember, too, the treat of Tuesday afternoons when my dad would pick up my brother and me from Roberts Elementary to take us on our weekly outing to the movies. Holden Caulfield says in A Catcher in the Rye that what really knocks him out is a book that when you're all done reading it, you wish the author that wrote it was a terrific friend of yours and you could call him up on the phone whenever you felt like it. Well, when I finish a great book or go to a great movie, it's not the author or the director I want to call, it's my dad. And tonight, you'll see why. Please welcome my father, Professor Dennis.
Very much Joy and Kate, and I'll tell you one more story. That when we used to go to the movies on Tuesday afternoon, I didn't always pay a lot of attention to whether I was really a right kind of movie for kids, 5th and 6th grade age. And I remember coming out of Thelma and Louise. I'm actually going to show you a cut tonight, and somebody said behind us, "He took his kids to that movie." What I'm really going to do tonight, and I'm very excited to be here and to talk about a lot of wonderful movies. And I always tell people before I start this lecture that if I don't work very well, at least the movies will. And there are all kinds of movies here. About 14 or 15 different movies. Some of them, they're more cuts from The Graduate, and well, I think more from The Graduate than anything else. But there are a lot of sort of junk movies that I happen to like and that have things in them that are interesting. And I'm really going to talk about the way in which, as Joy pointed out, movies bring together a lot of different artists in different ways to make things happen for us. And what I'm really going to talk about is the way in which what happens up there controls what we think about when we watch a movie. And that a lot of what happens we may not notice consciously, and there's certainly some things here that I didn't notice the first time I saw the movie, or maybe the third or fourth time, but what they do is work on us subliminally, and that we obviously take home what the director and the costume designer and the lighting designer and the music person and all sorts of other people who make movies are interested in having us feel. And I'm going to, the other thing is I'm going to do nothing that's very complicated tonight. I'm just going to talk about what you see on the screen and not too much about any of that either, because we want to get out of here before midnight. But I am, and I was telling Kate this at dinner, that I've done this speech a number of times for the Huston Alumni Association. I've gone to a lot of different places to do it. And they called me one day and they said, "Would you like to go to Los Angeles to do it?" And I said, "Sure, oh yeah." And then I got to Los Angeles and the audience was full of former students I taught who had gone to movie school. I thought, this is a waste of their time. But anyway, they were very patient and good. I'm going to start with the simplest kind of fairy tale. I'm going to start with Ugly Duckling Turned to Swan. So that what I'm going to show is two cuts at different times in the movie from Dirty Dancing. And here we go, first cut. I think.
You going to major in English?
Stop it.
No, economics of underdeveloped countries.
I need help from my daughter. Thanks.
After.
Okay. this is relatively early in the movie, and this is Jennifer Grey dancing with what I call loser guy. It's supposed to make us feel that he is loser guy. And what we got at the very beginning, and I tried to stop it and didn't have any luck because it wasn't ready, it wasn't doing that at the bottom, is you see a room where they're all dancing around and there are a lot of people and it's really crowded, and here they're all jammed together and they're doing the little box step. This is not a very good dancer and he's a very boring guy, and he doesn't think, he thinks all women are English majors. All right? Some of them are. But that's not it. But what I'm really interested in is her appearance, the dress she's wearing, and the way she's responding to him. She's going to tell him that she's majoring in economics and she's going to go into the Peace Corps or something like that. But I think it's actually before the Peace Corps. But what I'm interested in the way in which this is filmed, so that she's sort of lost in the crowd along with him, and you will notice that the whole movie, the whole sequence is filmed from the waist above. Nothing is happening in this world between these two guys from the waist down. And what we have is a situation where Jennifer Grey looks pretty plain, and she's dancing with Mr. Loser Guy.
Final show, I'm going to Mississippi with a couple of the busboys, Freedom Ride.
She's about to get bumped. Now, so we saw that. Now, this is of course, this is of course much later in the movie, near the end. Notice now, they're all sitting down and watching her. She's now the center of attention. She's dressed in a very different outfit. And since it's Jennifer Grey and her best feature is her legs, we're going to see a lot of legs. But now she's not with Loser Guy, but with Patrick Swayze. And the music is very different. And the look is very different. And they dance, and I've cut some of it, and they go back and forth. But the dancing here is a little different than what we saw in the first scene. Sexy dance. Now, what I'm actually interested in, among other things, is that at the end of this sequence, we have moved, in the course of the movie, from Ugly Duckling to Swan, as you will see. There, early, when she was dancing with Loser Guy, she was Ugly Duckling. We will eventually see her become a swan. The music doesn't quite, interrupt because I jumped so. Not like we saw before. All in white. It's also interesting, those of you who know the movie, that this is the only thing they couldn't do when they were practicing to do the dance in another place, and that they couldn't get this lift, or that's what the movie tells us. But we get it here. Ugly Duckling to Swan. Now, this is a very different kind of cut.